Very good morning to all of you. Assalamu alaikum. So, this is the last portion of your fifth unit, which is related to your ethical issues in publication and research. So, I'll cover today the publication ethics, the ethics related to thesis writing, paper publication in the journals, and how to get the patents and IPR, etc. That covers it. And what are the ethical aspects that I'll cover today. So first of all, I would like to ask you, what do you understand by ethics? What is the general meaning of ethics?
Moral values to discriminate between right and wrong.
Right and wrong.
Social benefit.
No?
The social benefit, something that is very ethical, that is very beneficial for the society as well.
Okay. Anybody else? What comes under the ethics? General ethics, I am not talking about the publication ethics right now.
Certain standards to be followed.
The standards or anybody else? You may come in front. Everybody come in front. Why you are sitting back? So nobody has taken the word principles or guidelines. They are the principles, rules, guidelines, moral standards that guide what is right and what is wrong in human behavior. So this is the dictionary meaning of the ethics. If we apply these ethics in research, it will become the research publication ethics. So in simple words, we can say ethics are moral principles and that govern persons or groups behavior. So this is ethics basically. Ethics, knowing what is right, doing what is right, that is important. And the key points under this are: it guides human behavior, and it is based on values like honesty, fairness, respect, and responsibility. These are the four important parts. It comes under the ethics, and it helps prevent harm and promotes good things. And it is important in personal life, professional life, as well as in research. So ethics helps people to make fair decisions, treat others honestly, and also avoid harm to anybody else, and act responsibly. That altogether comes under the ethics. So there are certain examples of ethics like being honest, not cheating in exams also, not harming others by words or by your behavior or by your act, respecting others' right, taking responsibility for your actions, and also being fair and transparent in your work. Okay. So that all comes under the ethics. Now we'll talk about the publication ethics. Publication ethics, if these ethics are applicable in publication, it is said to be a publication ethics. The publication ethic refers to the set of principles which you use in your daily life and guidelines aimed at maintaining integrity, transparency, and accountability in scholarly publishing. And these ethical standards are designed to ensure that the research is conducted and published in a responsible and a fair manner, fostering trust and credibility in academic work. So this is the basic definition of the publication ethics. So if all these guidelines, the principles, the moral values, if you will utilize in publishing your thesis and your research paper, it is said to be a publication ethics. Okay. What are research ethics? Research ethics, in simple words, means doing research in an honest, fair, and responsible way. It includes telling the truth about what you found. If you are collecting data, it should not be fabricated. It should be true data. If it is fabricated, there is no meaning of the results which you expect from that questionnaire, answer of these questionnaires. Not copying or cheating the others' work, giving credit to others' work by through citation, and not hurting people, animals, or the environment. Animal means for in science there are certain animals which are not allowed to be dissected. You cannot utilize these animals, so you should not use that animals which are not comes under uh, the principles and guidelines. Following rules and guidelines of publication of research paper or thesis. So in short, research ethics ensure that the research is trustworthy, safe, and respectful. So this is the inner feeling that when you write a paper and it is totally copied and paraphrased, or you put that paper on a chat GPT and for and rewrite this paper. So they will write, but you will not be confident from your inner feeling that okay, you did the right research. You will be guilty in writing these kinds of papers. Some minor paraphrasing is allowed in that you can do it, but it should not be copied thoroughly from the other's work. Publication ethics are rules of conduct generally agreed upon when publishing results of scientific research or other scholarly work. So generally, it is a standard that protects intellectual property and forbids the republication of another's work without proper credit. What will be the credit? How can you give credit to others' work? Mentioning the name and the title and the book or whatever the publication where the paper has been published, including the page number. That should come under the footnote as well as in the reference or bibliography. So that is the proper citation, and that will benefit to that original author. And if you cite one's paper, and it will be benefited for him. So it also forbids the use of plagiarism of another's effort, data, and information published as original must in fact be original. These are the certain importance of publication ethics which you should know. Ensure trust and credibility. The ethical practices helps readers, institutions as well and society trust the research findings. If somebody is reading your paper, he must have trust that this paper is why we trust that the papers which are published in Scopus or Web of Science are said to be trustworthy papers and good papers. Sometimes some journals are out from the Scopus uh, list. Why? Because of this trustworthiness, the copying of others' work. If they feel that this journal is using mostly the papers which are already been published and are have a certain amount of plagiarism, then they put out the from the list. Second, maintains honesty and integrity. Researchers are expected to present genuine, accurate, and original work. Third importance is protects participants and data. Participant means the ethical guidelines ensure the safety, privacy, and dignity of human as well as animals which you are using in your research. Prevent misconduct. It helps avoid plagiarism, falsification, data manipulation, and duplicate publication. What is data manipulation?
To change the data according to the result we want.
Yes. Or if you are not if you are in the secondary research, you do not getting the data of a particular year and you put it from your own. And this is the data. So that is the manipulation of data, uh, which is also unethical. Promotes responsible knowledge sharing. So ethical publication ensures proper credit to authors, fair reviews, processes, and transparent reporting. Hmm. So these are the important parts which you have to keep while writing papers or thesis. Support academic reputation. Following ethics enhance the researchers' credibility and strengthen the institution's reputation. And we are getting NAC A++ or NIRF ranking. These are based on the research work that has been done. And in this university, there was a very less number of publications which comes from the science background only. And now this university is converting into an research intensive university, as our Vice Chancellor has introduced some incentivization program, seed money project, etc. So that will also count in getting the ranking as well as the position in the academic ranking. Contributes to scientific progress. Ethical research builds a strong, reliable foundation for future studies and innovations. What is code of ethic? Code of ethics in research is set of rules, guidelines, researchers on how to conduct research in an honest, responsible, and respectful way. It ensures the research is trustworthy and does not harm anyone involved. Code of ethics generally includes honesty, means report data truthfully, don't make up or change the results or data according to the results you want. As she said, integrity, follow all research rules, and do your work responsibly. Respect for participants, like human beings or animals, protect the right, privacy, and dignity of people and animals if you are using your research. Confidentiality is also important. Keep personal information secret and secure so that your research will be unique. Inform, consent. Participant must know what the research is about and agree to take part freely. Avoid plagiarism. Don't copy others' work. Give proper credit and citation to the work which you are using from others' publication. Sorry?
Sir, importance of ethics में भी तो यही सारे points हैं.
हाँ, but code of ethics में generally the different organizations like UGC and other organizations, CSIR, they have to mention all these points in their code of ethics. So these points are generally common. Transparency is also common, the same. the share methods clearly. So these are the points which comes under the code of ethics of every organization. Government agencies who fund or commission research often publish codes of conduct for researchers or code of ethics. For example, the US National Institute of Health, NIH, they have these points. So it is clearly mentioned in their manual that you have to follow all these points. Food and Drugs Administration, FDA, also have these points which are clearly mentioned in India. CSIR, guidelines for ethics in research, in governance, UGC, good academic research practice, GARP, UGC care, which is now is no more. Extra, all publish ethical codes. So some ethical codes may have the force of law behind them, while others may simply be advisable. But when you are start writing your paper, you should avoid all these issues. General ethical ethics. If you are publishing your paper, what are the ethics which comes under the journal writing, publication, research paper writing in journal. Authorship statement mean declaration of substantive contributions signed by all the authors. You have to mention the name of the first author and the second author, the third author, including the name designation as well as the affiliation is important in the research paper. If you gone through the different papers and you have seen that it is mentioned there on the first page after the title, who's the author of this paper and who's the corresponding author and who was the main author, the second author. Everything is mentioned there. Originality of work, authors must submit only original research and avoid plagiarism. Our plagiarism should be zero. It should not be 4, 8, or 5. So if you are writing for good index research papers like Cooper's Web of Science or ABDC, etc., that they do not accept any kind of plagiarism. Conflict of interest is also very important part, which is COI statement is declaration made by the researchers or author to openly disclose any personal, financial, or professional relationship that could influence their research work. That is also important. In the research paper or thesis which you are writing, is there any relation with the organization or the supervisor has his personal or her personal interest in giving this particular topic and which will be benefit any organization. That is the conflict of interest which is to be signed by the authors as well as the publisher. Examples of conflict of interest statement, like the author declare that they have no conflict of interest. If there is no conflict of interest. If you have financial conflict, the research was funded by XYZ company, which may benefit from the results. If somebody is funding your research, so this is disclosed as a potential conflict of interest. You have to disclose your statement, conflict of interest statement. Personal or professional conflict may also be there. The one of the authors serves as a consultant for the organization revealed to this study. This is personal or professional conflict of interest to be stated. Redundant, unnecessary publication statement, the declaration that the work has not been published previously in whole or a part. No part of this research has already been published by somebody else in some other journals or by some other authors in the same journal. Human or animal subject statement is, as I already said, declaration that the study was reviewed by the commercial concerned ethical review committee. There should be a review committee to review the paper. So if you are using animals and which are not being allowed, they will reject your paper. on the basis of that. Confidential peer review. Reviewers must keep manuscript confidential and review honestly without biasness. Okay. Clear? So this is also a kind of, I mean, ethical concept that has to be. Data availability, authors may be required to share raw data or prove the authenticity of results when asked. If you have published any data in a research paper and somebody claimed that the data has been stolen from my paper, you can prove that I have, you can show that raw data, your questionnaires, you can show your questionnaires, you have to keep your questionnaires intact. Anytime anybody can claim that this data has been used from my thesis. So you have to keep your questionnaire in a soft or a hard form if you are collecting data for your thesis or a research paper. Retraction and correction. Journals can withdraw, retract, or correct papers if manuscript or major errors are found. This is a provision in every journal that if they feel that there are corrections or somebody want to withdraw the paper from the journal, if it has already been sent, they can withdraw the paper. It is on the interest of the publisher, interest of the author. Accurate reporting, data method and result must be true, transparent, and not manipulated. Avoiding misconduct includes fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. And you know, fabrication is making up data. Hmm? If you are making false data, developing a data, that comes under the fabrication. And falsification means changing the data. Figures you can change, the numbers you can change. That comes under the falsification. And plagiarism, you know, copying without giving credit. These are the 5 unethical practices to avoid while publishing your research paper. Duplicate submission, falsification, plagiarism, conflict of interest, authorship conflict, any of this may be unethical. Authorship conflicts includes should be based on the contribution provided by each author who has made a significant scientific contribution to the study. Hmm? Generally, it is required, but it doesn't happen. Credit of authorship has important academic, social, and financial implications and is bound for guiding guidelines which aid in preserving transparency during writing and publication of research material so as to prevent violation of ethics. This is related to the authorship. Conflict will not be there and should not be there in writing a research paper. If somebody, you put the name of author on the second and the entire work has been done by another person, so he may have a conflict like that. So many journals have tools and processes in place to identify researchers that engage in unethical behavior. If you are caught, your manuscript may be rejected without review, and your institution should also be informed if he has utilized another's manuscript. Ethical issues are carelessness. This is the sin, and the example is citation bias, understatement, negligence comes under the carelessness. Redundant publication, some tables or literature review reported without noting prior source. ना आपने देखा होगा ना जब if you make a diagram or a table, you write source below the table. है ना? That is important. Why? Because if you are using somebody else table or it comes from any other website, you have to mention that name of that website also, the author who has written this or make this. So that is also important. Unfair authorship, failure to include eligible authors, honorary authors, undeclared conflict of interest, failure to cite funding source, that comes under the conflict of interest, human or animal subject, as I already told, no approval from review or board of ethics is taken, that comes under the sin, plagiarism, reproducing others' work, other fraud may be fabrication, falsification of data, misappropriation of others' ideas or plan given in confidence. Duplicate submission is the second unethical issue. That duplicate publication involves publishing the same information in the similar layout. Even in the layout, you also have not changed the methodology. You have not make any change. The similar layout in more than one journal or in the online research papers or any other form of resources that comes under the duplicate submission. So all the authors need to be practiced of one submission or single manuscript to one journal. You cannot send one journal simultaneously to two different publishers and two different journals. That comes under the duplicate submission. Unless the one publisher rejects your manuscript. अगर वो आपका reject कर देता है, then only you can send it to some other. Simultaneously, you cannot send to two different journals the same manuscript. The main accountability of preventing duplicity of publication remains with the author. The following list of important criteria which are necessary to consider the article as duplicate are identical content. ये चीजें हैं जो comes under the duplicate publication. Highly similar article with minimal modifications. Several articles when one is enough. Sequential article about the development of work, similar article from various disciplines. All these comes under the duplicate publication if it comes under the knowledge of the publisher. Falsification and fabrication of data, as I already explained you, the integrity of research depends on the integrity of the data which you are presenting and the data record. As falsification and fabrication call into question the integrity of the data and the data record. So they represent serious issues in scientific ethics. Falsification is the practice of omitting or altering research material from somebody else's material, manuscript, equipment, data, or processes in such a way that the results of the research are no longer accurately reflected in the research record. That comes under the falsification. Fabrication is the practice of inventing data. This is a very good word, inventing data. Or results and recording or reporting them in the research record. So both of the schemes are probably among the most serious offenses. The word offense has been used. There is a serious issue of you are using somebody else's data or for falsification of data. The challenges challenge the credibility of everyone and everything involved in the research. Falsification means changing or manipulating data, results, or research procedures to make the findings look better. Generally, the research scholars do this, but this is not applicable. This is not, allowed. Changing numbers in the survey to make results look positive, as somebody told. Editing images or graphs to hide mistakes. You have make a minor change in the graph of somebody else who have used in some other journal. That is also not allowed. Leaving out data that does not support the expected outcome. आपने वो data हटा दिया, which is not coming into your results, or your hypothesis is not being checked through that data. The simple example of falsification is that a researcher collects 50 responses but delete 10 responses because they do not match his expected result. This is not allowed. You cannot delete the responses. You have to mention in your results. If you put that data in the SPSS, the results will come out, and that table you have to mention in your research article or paper or thesis, whatever, and you have to interpret that why this results is out. And this is called verification and validation of data. आप करते हैं ना, verification and validation of data is important. Why? And why you do pilot study? What is pilot study? I told you, I think, small survey. So you do it after validation or before validation?
Before validation.
Before validation, you do this pilot study.
So we have to give just particular samples on ground areas. That is the pilot study.
Means instead of collecting the entire data, you have collected the data from the 50 respondents instead of 500, and you have checked your validity and verified that the questionnaire you have developed is appropriate or not. That is pilot study. And if you feel that the results are not coming out as you expect in your hypothesis, then you have to change the questions. You have to make changes in the questionnaire, and then you have to collect the entire data. That is called pilot study. Fabrication means making up data, आप बना रहे हैं data. Results or experiments that never actually happened. How it is possible in scientific research which are to be done in the laboratory? Chemistry के बंदे हैं? कोई chemistry? Anybody from chemistry? Physics? Yes. How can you make fabrication in data in experiments?
Basically, my work is computational.
In medical field, anybody from medical background?
So we can basically we can, as per the feature extraction. This is only feature we can extract in detail.
नहीं, मैं जानना चाह रहा था कि अभी हम लोग क्या कॉमर्स और सोशल साइंस पे तो डेटा यू कैन मेक इट, बट दैट इज नॉट अलाउड. बट हाउ इट हैपेंस इन साइंस बैकग्राउंड पीपल, द एक्सपेरिमेंट, एक केमिकल दूसरे केमिकल को आप कैसे मिक्स कर सकते हैं, कैसे एडिशनल केमिकल डाल सकते हैं?
सर रीडिंग
चेंज कर सकते हैं ना, इन फिजिक्स,
केमिस्ट्री.
ओके. So this is this is called making of data, means creating fake participants or survey respondents. Instead of getting 50, you get only 10, and rest are fake. So that is comes into fabrication, claiming to have done experiments that were never performed in the labs or laboratory. The simple example: a researcher writes that 100 people were interviewed, but no interview were done at all. Everything is fake. Everything is made. So this is possible, and mostly the students do this in their master's dissertation or internship report writing. So this is the difference between fabrication and falsification, making of data, and changing the real. Plagiarism is a very serious ethical issue and also a very common issue. You have to check your plagiarism before sending your research paper to or manuscript to the publisher. So how much plagiarism is allowed, it depends. It varies from institution to institution, the publisher to publisher. Uh, for example, in our university, not more than 8 plagiarism score is allowed for thesis submission. So you try to make it 0, but it is under 10 or 8 that it will be allowed. So plagiarism is an act when you take someone's work and try to pass it off as your own. So this is known as stealing. चोरी है ये, हाँ? Stealing, which is not only unethical but it is also illegal. The person whose research part you are taking in your research, he may file a case against you. He can file FIR also against you of stealing the research portion. If you knowingly use another person's work without giving them credit, you are committing plagiarism. If you are giving the reference, proper reference in your research, then it is not a plagiarism. It is allowed. And he will also not have any objection if you are putting his using his data or his interpretation in your thesis. So plagiarism also extend to ideas and products, taking someone's original idea or product and passing it off as your own. Then it will be an offense. So when you are accused of plagiarism, you are accused of stealing because you are committing, no talking please, you are committing an act of fraud. This is an act of fraud. Plagiarism is an act of fraud. So you are not only stealing the work, product, or original idea of anybody, uh, but you are lying about doing so afterward. So the ethics of plagiarism is merely the ethics of stealing. Okay. So this is called theft. Now, what are the different? Yes.
When definitions are quoted, like if you're quoting any definition of any organization, it is to be quoted as it is. But when it is detected on a particular software,
if you paraphrase that quotation, then it is not allowed. It should be as it is.
So it is as it is.
Yes.
But when it is run through a software like Authenticate or Turnitin, then it comes under plagiarism. How to tackle that?
That's why some plagiarism is allowed because of the referencing. But referencing is not required to be checked while you are using plagiarism. So Turnitin or Relevant any of the software. But these quotations or certain keywords may comes under the plagiarism and that are allowed. That's why 8 to 10% or somewhere 5 to 15% are allowed. That is because of these quotations or the words or keywords which are used. It is not 100% इसीलिए नहीं है कि आप कुछ तो होगा, something is because you cannot change the phrase also quotation, you cannot change the quotation, you cannot paraphrase the quotation also, and if you are paraphrasing that and writing your own quotation, that is plagiarism or it comes under the stealing. Direct plagiarism is the word for word transcription of a section of someone else's work, exactly, without attribution and without quotation marks. The deliberate plagiarism of someone else's work is unethical and academically dishonest and grounds of disciplinary action. This is called direct plagiarism. Self plagiarism, what do you think? Self plagiarism क्या होता है?
Previous work only form में फिर से वही डाल देना.
If you have published one research paper and the same you are using in your another paper, that is self-plagiarism, which occurs when a scholar submit his or her own previous work. Mosaic plagiarism. occurs when someone borrows phrases, ideas, or concept from a source without using quotation mark, as she said. That comes under the mosaic uh, plagiarism. Or find synonyms for author's language while keeping to the same general structure and meaning of the original. That comes under the mosaic publication plagiarism, as she asked. है ना? जैसे उसने पूछा था तो वही whether international or not is academically dishonest and punishable. In other words, mosaic plagiarism happens when you take part of someone else's writing and blend them. मैंने इसको येलो कर दिया इसीलिए blend them into your own words. कुछ तो आपने उसके वर्ड्स ले लिए, कुछ अपने वर्ड्स मिला के उसको एक नया चीज बना दी. So this blending of words, your own words as well as the words of another author, does not allowed, and it is an offense and punishable. Clear? Mosaic plagiarism. Accidental plagiarism occurs when a person neglects to cite their sources or misquote their sources or unintentionally paraphrases or source by using similar words. That comes under the accidental plagiarism. So cases of accidental plagiarism are taken as seriously as any other plagiarism and are subject to the same range of consequences as the other types of plagiarism, mosaic or direct plagiarism. Here, the conflict of interest is explained in detail. The conflict of interest, also called the competing interest, are defined as financial, personal, social, or other interest that directly or indirectly influence the conduct of author with respect to a particular manuscript. What do you understand by these three, four lines? Hmm? This is also very important part when you are writing a book or publishing a paper. They have to get it signed. The conflict of interest form has been signed. The copyright form is also been signed. So this is important part that if with your research, if somebody is involved, either they will get some financial benefit from the research, or it will help in the commercialization of idea. Then it will comes under the conflict of interest if it is not been signed previously before writing the research paper or a patent. You are going for filing a patent. So, having competing interest in the product or device under the consideration is not considered unethical. However, failure to disclose such hidden interests severely jeopardize the outcome reported in the paper. So once disclosed, it is the discretion of the readers to determine the influence of the conflict of interest of on the conclusion of the paper. Conflict of interest statement are all manuscripts and articles, original research reports, editorials, comments, reviews, book reviews, and letters that are submitted to the journal must be accompanied by the conflict of interest disclosure statement, which is one paper statement or declaration by the authors that they do not have any conflict of interest to declare. When you write your thesis, you also put a declaration. After the supervisor certificate, you have to put a declaration. In research papers, it is not being published, but it is to be signed by you and all the authors that there is no conflict of interest. So all articles that are published in the journal must be accompanied by this conflict of interest disclosure statement or the statement that the author have replied that they have no conflict of interest. जैसे मैंने बताया था तीन होते हैं, financial conflict, personal conflict and third क्या था? personal, financial, or institutional may also be there. So these are the conflict of interest which has to be signed. Here are some examples. Here are some examples of conflict of interest. Receiving funding from an organization that may benefit from specific research outcome. It should be declared. Supervisor having a personal or financial connection to the topic or a company involved. Hmm. If your supervisor giving a topic and he is insisting you to do your work research around this topic, if he is having some financial interest from a company, the results may be used by the company. Hmm. In science, this is more happens, but in commerce or social science is not more important. Authors working for a company whose products or policies are evaluated in the thesis. This is also under the conflict of interest. Using data provided by sponsor who expect favorable results. Hmm. Somebody has given the data and want a favorable result in your research, then that is also a conflict of interest. Not disclosing personal bias or prior involvement with the subject being researched. So these are some of the examples of conflict of interest. Now come to the commercialization of a research. Commercialization of a research results is a process through which the knowledge produced at universities and research bureau is changed into industrial processes or a product offered to the market. And if somebody has developed any device or some software by the computer science and engineering researchers or some mechanical device, or some financial device also nowadays. So that may be commercialized and then that will benefit the researchers in the form of the royalty, which he will get according to the sales turnover of that particular product using that device. So there is a growing evidence that the pressure to commercialize is directly or indirectly associated with the adverse impact on the research environment. The pharmaceutical companies, they establish their labs in the universities, and some of the medical organizations, they also establish some lab in some certain hospitals because they will benefit from the results they will get from the research that has been conducted in that research labs. The entire lab has been developed. In this university, the Yamaha has established a lab in our polytechnic. Those who will train in Yamaha motorcycles repair, they will be uh, they will be absorbed in the Yamaha company. So it will be benefit. It becomes a training center here for getting a good mechanics from Integral University. And certain labs are also developed by Himalaya and some other companies in the pharmacy department that has been used by that for commercialization purpose. So in India, however, the linkage between research institutes and industry remains patchy. Um, on the one hand, scientists and typically focused on core science and may not want to work with startups and industry at large. So moreover, commercialization of the research is not among their important goals, says Anand Nand Kumar, Associate Professor, Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. Copyright. What is copyright?
The copyright will protect the researcher's work.
Hmm.
Believe.
Yeah. It has been also signed by the publisher from the author. So copyright laws protect the creation of original work by giving them certain exclusive right over their work. In general, copyright owners enjoy the right to display or perform the work, distribute the work, create derivative work, and reproduce the work the original author can reproduce the work. है ना? No other author can reproduce the work of others because it has already have copyright. You can see in a circle there is a C that denotes the copyright. So the Copyright Act 1957, as mentioned in the Copyright Amendment Act, which has been amended in 2012, governs the subject of copyright law in India. So copyright protection is provided under the Copyright Act 1957, where it confers protection of copyrights automatically as soon as the software code get embedded on the tangible medium like ROM, paper, magnetic tape, etc. The registration of such work maintains a public record in the register of the copyright, which includes the title, name, and author's name in the index. So, copyright notice consists of four elements. The letter C in the circle, as I told you, word copyright. First publication year of the work, it has to be right. If you have edited your work in another edition, then it comes in the year and the date of edition. आपने देखा होगा बुक्स में होता है फर्स्ट एडिशन सेकंड एडिशन थर्ड एडिशन and the same copyright is there, but the year and the date has been changed. Owner's name will be the same. If you want to include some authors, you have to take permission from the original author in the edited book. All rights reserved at the end. What is royalty? Hmm? The financial benefit to the original author. So when a book publisher contracts with the author to publish a book, in essence, that author who is the copyright holder of that particular book grants the publisher the right to publish the work for an agreed upon amount of money, depend upon the revenue generated from that book that has to be transferred to the original author in the form of royalty. So royalty कैसे मिलती है कि जितनी number of books has been sold, an agreed amount of percentage of amount which will be transferred to the original author or different authors who are there. For example, the first author will get 5%, another author will get 2.5%, and the third author 1%. It is being agreed in the royalty form or a copyright form. So like points related to the book delivery of right assignment, the royalty rates are outlined in the book contract. Book publishers have standardized rate for royalties for various editions of the book. A publisher pays authors royalty in exchange for the right to publish their work in book form. Royalty rates are percentage of the book, as I told you. On the sales, they are entirely negotiable. Through some publishers have standard royalty rates, and some have standard royalty range. They try to stick to for majority of their book deals. So it's clear what is royalty. Hmm? Intellectual property rights. As the name suggests, intellectual property right means the rights to certain intellectuals for their original work. The intellectual property rights are the rights given to person over the creation of their mind. They are using their mind because they are somewhere different from ours. So they are intellectuals. So they usually give the creator an extensive right over the use of his or her creation for certain period of time. Hmm. So there is a dispute in America and India over the using the name of certain medicines like antibiotics. है ना? आपने सुना होगा कि we are using the similar names. So there is a dispute between the countries over the using intellectual property rights. So the right of author of literary and artistic works such as book, another writing, musical compositions, paintings, sculpture, computer programs, softwares, etc., films are protected by copyrights for a minimum period of specified years, like 60 years in case of India. After the death of the author, the copyright protection varies in various countries. So these are the rules of intellectual property right. Is recognized as an important tool for economic growth. The copyright system is based on the belief that the creator of the intellectual work need an incentive to be creative. So this can only be done by protecting his or her creation from violation of or limitation. So the purpose of IPR is absolute protection. This is important. So the thinking is that creators will not have sufficient incentive to invent unless they are legally entitled to capture the full social value for their inventions. So anything which you have invent that can have intellectual property right or copyright or patent, so that nobody else can use that brand name or product name or anything else. These are the different types of intellectual property rights. Patent, you know what is patent? Is used to prevent an invention from being created, sold, or used by another party without permission. So patent are the most common type of intellectual property right, which is to be imposed in inventing different devices, different medicines, different formulas of chemicals, recipes also in hotel management are to be patented. Certain models, even you, if you will give a model in your thesis, that can be patented and should patented in association with your supervisor. So try to give some model in your thesis at last after collecting the data. So that can be invented. So you will get one thesis, one patent also, and two research papers after completing your PhD. So a patent owner has every right to commercialize his or her or its patent, including buying and selling the patent or granting a license to invention to any third party under mutually agreed terms and conditions. So it depends you. It's your property and you want to sell it, you want to give it rights to some company to produce the product is allowed. So there are three different categories that patent can fall under. ये सब आपके एग्जाम में आता है, different types of patent, different types of plagiarism. So you have to be very prepared and objective type questions also and some short answer questions. So there are three different categories that patents can fall under. Utility patent protects the creation of a new or improved product, processes, composition of matter or machine that is useful. An example of utility patent, method for driver assistance system of a vehicle. उसका ये नंबर मिल गया US 9772626B2. That is a patent number that nobody else can use that device. Design patent, you know, if some design has been developed by somebody else, protects the ornamental designs of jewelry or diamond items, cutting of a diamond, different cutting of a diamond, anything else. An example of design patent like electric bicycle, and this patent number has been issued by the government of India. There is a process of filing a patent. You have to file a patent through a process. There is an online process that you have to do it, submit, deposit a fee of that, and first you will get your patent will be published, and after some time, if the government will feel it is good invention, that can be granted. So first it is to be published and then it will be granted. An example of patent, plant patent, crappy type plant named GMI. This is an example. So from the science background people. So that can be patented with this number. Another type of patent is trademark, copyright. Oh, sorry, intellectual property right is trademark. Trademark means any logo, any uh, uh, brand name, like Raymond's, the R is italic. So that is being trademark. So trademarks are another familiar type of intellectual property right protection. A trademark is distinctive sign which allow consumers to easily identify the particular goods or services that our company provide. Some examples include McDonald's have a certain logo they use. KFC is also using a particular logo, and the person who invented the KFC, he himself uses photograph. So this is a patent which has to be patented or it's a trademark. Sorry,
स्मेल का ट्रेडमार्क
किसका
स्मेल
स्मेल इधर परफ्यूम्स के नहीं होते हैं परफ्यूमर्स दे हैव देयर ट्रेडमार्क्स nobody can use that formula or chemicals which are to be put into in making that fragrance. So that is also be patented. So symbol, sound, smell, and other colors, scheme. Unlike patent, a trademark can protect a set or class of product or service interested instead of just one product or process. Copyright I have already explained you, and this is also a type of intellectual property right. Does not protect ideas, rather it only covers the tangible form of creations and original work. For example, art, music, architectural drawings, or even software codes. The copyright owner has the exclusive right to self-publish. uh, Industrial design also can be patented or can comes under the intellectual property right. What are industrial designs? The production or technique of creation product or article. For example, a furniture company could come up with a new way of making a sofa come bed and may want to protect it from being copied by someone else. So this is also being patented, and if it is allowed, then the others can use it, the same manufacturing process of any product. In many countries, the industrial design must be registered to get the protection under the industrial design law. If it is not protected, then anybody can use it. What happens in India? The competitors are using uh, the others' work because it is not being patented. This is also comes under the intellectual property right, geographical identification, GI जिसे बोलते हैं. So certain products are tied to a certain geographical location, like Jammu and Kashmir, Kanyakumari. And producers may want intellectual property protection to ensure that a product from other areas do not misuse this indicator. So this is also been taken by certain companies. For instance, basmati rice. Hmm? It's an Indian geography GI, Indian GI, and Banarsi saris. So they are also has been registered under the development of commerce in India as a product from that geographical identification. So this tag is given only to this variety of rice grown in several states in the foothills of Himalayas. So this tag you may found on the packet of the basmati rice, which has to be exported to some other countries. And some countries it is important that the country of origin should also be there. आपने देखा होगा गारमेंट्स पे शर्ट्स ट्राउजर्स के ऊपर नीचे कंट्री ऑफ ओरिजिन लिखा रहता है तो दैट इज नो अदर कंट्री can use the similar product if it is being have a copyright or GI from that particular country. This is a common chart. I made it to differentiate all these. And this is very common for your instant right reading. Yeah? तो कॉपीराइट में और इसमें इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी राइट पेटेंट ट्रेडमार्क अफ्रीका एजुकेशन और इंडस्ट्रियल डिजाइन में क्या डिफरेंस है दैट यू कैन व्हाट इट प्रोटेक्ट्स protect for what and this is another example is given. So I'm not going to explain this for you. I'll provide the notes to this for your instant reading. अच्छा ये मैंने दिखाया नहीं था आपको ये हाँ? Citations. What are citations? Cite करना क्या होता है?
To mention the research work, what we have taken from other researchers.
Yeah.
What we have.
So how you will cite? If I have written a paper, for example, so if you are using that paper or some portion of that paper or some idea from that paper, you can mention my name, my title, my journal name, and page number in your reference. So that will give me one citation. So citation is the way you tell your readers that certain material in your work come from another source. It also gives you readers the information necessary to find that source again, including the information about the author, name, the name and location of the company that published your copy of the source, the date your copy was published, year or date, sometimes date also mentioned. The edition may also be there. The ISSN number may also be mentioned. So the page number of the material you are borrowing is to be mentioned in your text as well as in reference or bibliography. Then it will give one credit to the original author. आप लोग अगर आप लोग में से किसी का कोई पब्लिकेशन है एनीबडी पब्लिश एनी पेपर okay so you can make an account on Google Scholar and you will start getting citations if somebody is using that so your citation will increase okay. So everybody should have a Google Scholar account and automatically that paper comes into your account or you may also put your paper on that account, Google Scholar. Everybody has Google Scholar and the citations are counted from that site also. Like this, the Scopus will also have, the Web of Sciences also have there. So Google ID, Scopus ID और कौन सी आईडी होती कई तरह की आईडीज होती that can benefit you in your academic. So what should I cite? Source. Give credit to the original author by citing source is the only way to use other people's work without plagiarizing, but there are a number of other reasons to cite sources. So if you start writing the papers, it is mandatory in our university to cite 4 journals of your supervisor or teachers of the department. It has been become mandatory in order to increase the citation of the university. The individual citation and the total citation of the university is important for ranking, like NAC or NIRF. So the university has started mandatory to mention at least 4 citations, 4 references of your supervisor or teacher or concerned teacher or those who have a similar work related to your topic. You have to mention the papers which they have already published in journals. So this is the rule of this university. I'm telling you because you will now start writing the review paper. After the review of literature, you start writing review paper related to your topic. Citations are extremely helpful to anyone who wants to find out more about your ideas and where they come from. Not all sources are good or right. Your own ideas may often be more accurate or interesting than those of your sources. Proper citation will keep you from taking the rap for someone else bad ideas. Citing sources show the amount of research you have done. Citing sources strengthen your work by leading outside support to your ideas. So citation is important. Next is H index, which is also based on citations. So the Google Scholar website will show your citation, H index as well as I-10. Once your number of publication will increase, then it will come. So the H index measures both productivity, number of papers, and impact, number of paper citations. How many people have cited your papers? कितने लोगों ने मेरे पेपर का रेफरेंस दिया है अपने पेपर में? And immediately you will get a notification on your Google Scholar site. Mr. So and so has cited you or have given your reference. So this is very important. So how it calculate? List all your publications, rank them in order from most cited to least cited. है ना? ज्यादा साइट हुए कम साइट हुए, किसी को आपने एक बार दिया होगा, किसी को 2 बार दिया है, कुछ पेपर्स ऐसे हैं जिनको 100 टाइम्स किया है। तो मेरे कुछ पेपर्स ऐसे हैं जिनमें बहुत साइटेशंस है, 150 है, 60 लोगों ने 160 लोगों ने उसको साइट किया है। तो that paper becomes more prominent. So that has a value. So find the print point where the number of papers is equal to the greater than the number of citations for the paper. So here is an example of an index. A researcher has 8 papers with the following citations. 6 papers, sorry, wrongly written. 6 papers with the following citations. Count 25, 18, 12, 7, 3 and 1. These are the 6 papers which have citations. For example, my first paper has got 25 citations. The second paper has 18. The third paper which I have written is 12. And the fourth paper is 7. Fifth paper is 3. And sixth paper is 1. So this is the method of calculation. The first paper has these citations. So now compare the two numbers in each row. So paper 1, 25 citations is 1 greater than equal to, less than equal to 25. Paper 2, 18 citations, 2 less than equal to 18. And paper 3 is 12, 3 less than 12, 7. So we have 4 citations. The researchers has H index is 4. Okay, clear? Because they have 4 papers with at least 4 citations each. So the fifth paper has only 3 citations. So what it shows, a higher H index indicates both more publication and greater number of highly cited works. So when you will become a good academician, the people will know you from your citations, H index and I-10. This is the I-10. The simple meaning of I-10 is index counts how many papers have at least 10 citations. कितने पेपर आपके ऐसे हैं जिनको 10 लोगों ने रेफर किया है ना? How many papers you have been, your reference has been given in 10 papers. So if a researcher has 5 papers with 10 or more citations, the paper with less than 10 citations, their I-10 will be 5. Clear?
सर सपोज दैट अगर हम सेल्फ रेफरेंसिंग करते हैं, जैसे मेरा कोई प्रीवियस पेपर पब्लिश है और अगर उसी पे हम आगे उसको काम कर रहे हैं और अपनी रेफरेंसिंग अगर हम लेते हैं तो वो साइटेशन काउंट होगा या नहीं होगा? क्योंकि मल्टीपल टाइम ऐसा देखा गया है कि अगर हम अपने सेल्फ रेफरेंस को मल्टीपल टाइम यूज होता है वो काउंट नहीं होता है।
जनरली कुछ साइट्स काउंट करती है, कुछ स्कोपस नहीं करता है। I have seen. Self-referencing.
Suppose मान लीजिए कि कोई हमारा सुपरवाइजर है, अगर मैं उसका नाम मेंशन कर रहा हूँ, ऑलरेडी उसके नाम पे मान लीजिए 5 पेपर पब्लिश है, और अगर उसके रेफरेंसेस मैंने अपने पेपर पे यूज किया, वो उसे साइट नहीं करेगा, काउंट नहीं करेगा उस ऑथर के लिए।
तो उसका नाम भी आ रहा है उस पेपर में,
उसका नाम भी आ रहा है,
इसलिए नहीं करेगा वो।
इसके लिए
सेल्फ रेफरेंसिंग जनरली काउंट करते नहीं है। No, it will not come into the plagiarism. If you are properly giving citation or referencing, then it will not be a plagiarism. But it depends upon it will come into the citation or not by the Google Scholar. Generally, the self citation sometimes they take, sometimes they do not take. It is a very dowry state. Acknowledgement, proper acknowledgement of the work of others must always be given. Authors should cite publications that have been influenced in determining the nature of the reported work, information obtained privately, as in the conversation, correspondence, or discussion with third parties must not be used or reported without explicit written permission from the source. So information obtained in the course of confidential services such as referring manuscript or grant application must not be used without the explicit written permission of the author, the work involved in these services. So that's all from the today. This fifth unit has been completed. There are two topics: thesis writing as well as publication ethics, which I have been completed. I'll put both the activities on your WhatsApp group in a PDF form. So, anybody has any question? किसी का कोई क्वेश्चन है स्टिल?
एथिक्स के लास्ट 5 ईयर की पेपर दे देते हैं।
देखिए, ethics there is a different paper also. It comes under the research methodology. Only a portion is there, but you also have a research ethics, a separate paper, which will start by Dr. Mir. Sanobar Mir will take up the classes of that. That is a separate paper now. But this is a portion in your fifth unit which I have covered. You can go to the library website and you will get it. Library website. iul.ac.in का नहीं है, लाइब्रेरी की वेबसाइट अलग है। आप लाइब्रेरी में जाइए and they will give you the reference, I mean the link of that website, and you will get it all the papers of different years. You can download it. ठीक है? आजकल कोई भी चीज हार्ड फॉर्म में नहीं है, एवरीथिंग इज इन शॉर्ट फॉर्म, इट्स अवेलेबल इन द लाइब्रेरी वेबसाइट। मेरे पास नहीं है जी। आप ऐड कर लिए भाई, हु इज द एडमिन? यू सेंड मी द मैसेज, आई विल ऐड यू। मैं ऐड कर लूंगा। आप मेरा नंबर ले लीजिए 9794386060। मेरे पीपीटी जो होते हैं वो नोट्स की तरह होते हैं। मैं इसको बहुत डिटेल बना रहा हूँ ताकि मेरे दो नोट्स अलग और पीपीटी अलग नहीं बना। 9794386060। So thank you all.